Hi and welcome back to Grade Guide. This revision video on cells is directed towards students completing the Junior Cycle Science exam as part of the Irish curriculum. Taking a quick look at the NCCA learning outcomes for Junior Cycle Science, the topic of cells encompasses the first biological world learning outcome, which states that students should be able to investigate the structures of animal and plant cells and relate them to their functions. I break this topic down into 5 key concepts that you need to know for the topic on cells, which we'll go through on screen now. So for the first concept, you need to be able to describe what the word cell means in biological terms. You need to be able to draw and label an animal cell, as well as a plant cell. You need to be able to explain the function of all parts of the cell. In other words, you need to be able to say what everything inside an animal and plant cell does. And lastly, you need to be able to tell the difference between an animal and plant cell. So starting from the top, we'll go through each of these concepts one by one, beginning with what exactly a cell is. Well, cells are the basic building blocks of all living things, and they are so small that we can't see them with the naked eye. We need a microscope to be able to see them properly. Any living thing you can think of, whether it's your pet dog or pet cat at home, whether it's any of the livestock you see on a farm, the birds you see in the sky, fish swimming in the ocean, flies or insects that land on you on a hot day, the one thing they all have in common is that they are made from cells. Plants, which we'll look at later, are also made from cells, as are bacteria and fungi. In short, you need to know that all living things are made from cells. I like to think of cells in the same way as I think of individual bricks in a house. If I have enough bricks and stick them all together, I can build a house. And in the same way, if I have enough cells and stick all of those cells together, I can create a living thing. Now you might wonder how many cells there are in a human. Well, the answer is a lot. An average human has not 1 million, not 1 billion, not 1 trillion, but 30 trillion cells. So seeing as we have this massive number of cells, it's very important that we know a bit about them. So on screen now you can see an animal cell. And for your junior cycle exam, you need to be able to draw and label an animal cell. Now, as you could probably guess from the name, animal cells are found in all animals. Whether that be a human, dog, fish or insect, they all have this kind of cell that we're about to look at. In an animal cell, there are 4 structures you need to know. One is the cell membrane, another is the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and finally the mitochondrion. There are only 3 of these in the diagram of the cell on screen, but in reality, you could have thousands of them in a cell. So for plural, they're known as mitochondria. And you need to know what these 4 structures do. The cell membrane is the outer barrier around the cell. It protects the cell by controlling what goes into and out of the cell. It only lets good things in, and it keeps bad things out. So that works to protect the cell. The nucleus is like the brain of the cell, and it controls everything the cell does, the same way your brain controls everything that your body does. Your nucleus can do this by using something called DNA. Your DNA is stored inside the nucleus. The cytoplasm is the jelly-like liquid that's found around the cell, and the job of your mitochondria is to make energy, and they carry out a process called respiration to make this energy. We need energy for pretty much everything we do, whether it's exercising by going to the gym, playing sports, going for a walk, or even breathing and keeping yourself warm. You need energy for that, and it's your mitochondria that produce this energy. So that's what animal cells contain. But what about plants? Let's think about the likes of trees, grass, or even crops we grow for food, such as potato or carrots or cabbage plants. Even though they're living things, they're still also different from us animals. What do their cells have that make them so different from us animals? Well, let's take a look. It turns out that plant cells have a lot of the same things that we have in our animal cells. They also have mitochondria, a cytoplasm, a nucleus, and a cell membrane that do the same things for a plant as they do for us. But what makes plant cells different is that they also have a few extra things that we don't have. They have a cell wall, a large vacuole, and chloroplasts. The cell wall is an extra layer outside of the cell membrane, and it gives strength and a fixed rectangular shape to the cell. A large vacuole stores any food that the plant makes, and chloroplasts are what make that food for the plant. Chloroplasts are the reason why plants can make their own food during a process known as photosynthesis. Animal cells don't have chloroplasts, which is why we can't make our own food. We have to eat it instead. Comparing both animal and plant cells, you need to be able to identify 3 differences between them for your exam. The most glaring difference we can see is that animal cells have no fixed shape. They come in all shapes and sizes, whereas plant cells are rectangular in shape, like blocks in a wall. Animal cells lack both a cell wall and chloroplasts, while plants have both of these things. And that's what you're expected to know about cells for your junior cycle science exam. Before your exam, make sure you're well revised on each of these 5 concepts that we went through at the beginning of the video. Reading your textbook and answering exam-style questions are always a great way to test your knowledge. Also, take a look at these keywords from the topic and test yourself to see do you know what they all mean. Well, that's it for this grade guide video. For more on videos on cells and how to view them through a microscope, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And best of luck with your revision.